Hey folks, how you doing? This is Mike Williams of US Gamer, and this is this week's episode of From Us to You. I'm here with Kat, Bailey, Bob Mackey, and Nadia Oxford. Everyone say hi.
Hello. I have a cat this time.
She does. See me this time. You can
the
see
cat mafia has taken over US Gamer permanently. All right, so my topic is No Man's Sky, which was delayed. And I kind of wondering what you guys actually think of what No Man's Sky is going to be, because frankly, it could either be really amazing or really boring. What do you guys think? I'm kind of interested to hear what your opinion of No Man's Sky will be.
I think it's really interesting, everything they've shown, but I don't know how it plays. Like, I don't know what the point, the point is exploration, but how does it play? How do you trade between people? What's the social features like? It's all still very nebulous for a game that was supposed to come out very, very soon.
Yeah, it does feel like an idea in search of an actual game. I don't think that was communicated well enough to people, despite all of the E3 awards it's won. Just like, what is it? Like, what is compelling about this? Why do I want to explore these worlds? There are plenty of games where I can just explore infinite space, but I don't, because there's not really an incentive for me. So what is it with this game that will make me want to do this?
Did any of you guys end up playing it? Sorry, Nadia.
It's okay. I was just going to say, I haven't played it yet, if that's what you're going to ask, 'cause I didn't go to E3. But I definitely want to like it very much. When I look at it, I kind of get excited about it, because I like the idea of you can futz around in space, or you can stay firmly on the ground like God intended and explore the worlds around you. Because I like animals and plants. I like flora and fauna. I'd like the idea of getting to go out there and like explore them and name them, even if you can have that option. It kind of reminds me a bit of Xenoblade Chronicles X in that regard, but of course, as you say, I could just go play Xenoblade Chronicles X. What does No Man's Sky offer? I'm not sure at this point, and no one's really communicated that point.
And Xenoblade Chronicles X has a plot.
It does.
I think what will be important for No Man's Sky is how much impact you can actually have on the universe. Like, if I can find a nice little planet to settle down on, and build up a nice little base, and have decorate it or whatever, I think that can actually be pretty compelling. I think, as I discussed a lot recently, I've been really hooked on Fallout 4, and half the reason I've been hooked on Fallout 4 is because I've been sitting around, futzing around with my settlements, and decorating them, and kind of, inviting people and dressing them up. It's kind of like post-apocalyptic dollhouse, I suppose.
I was going to say, you really just want to play The Sims, don't you?
Yes, Sims or Animal Crossing.
Secretly, I think secretly all of our video games are just playing dress up.
Yeah,
I think so.
As much as we probably won't like to admit that, but we are just dressing up paper dolls.
So just give me that, but in space, with spaceships, and let me have that with starfighters. But that's pure speculation, of course.
My greatest fear for this game is it's going to be a Spore kind of situation.
Yeah, a lot of people bring up Spore.
We've been seeing this over and over again. It's been trotted out for maybe perhaps 3 years. Has it only been kind of kicking around for 2 years, at least in the public-facing sense of the word?
I want to say 2 years ago I saw it at E3, and they were showing off the technology.
In a
closed room.
Didn't they announce it right around the same time as the PlayStation 4? It was one of the earlier games announced, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've been especially boastful about their claims, but I still feel like they're asking us to give them a pretty big benefit of the doubt. Like, trust us, guys. The things you're going to do in this game are interesting. We'll tell you what they are later. That's kind of the sense I'm getting. And I really trust these developers. Hello Games actually made the Joe Danger series, which is a very overlooked and very fantastic little Excitebike clone, or whatever you want to call it. But they know how to make a very well-made game, I think. And this is way different than Joe Danger. So I just hope they're not biting off more than they can chew in terms of the scope and the ambition of this of No Man's Sky.
I hope that they don't go the Elite Dangerous route. which Elite Dangerous is really similar to No Man's Sky in a lot of respects. Elite Dangerous has a procedurally generated universe, and it's a huge sandbox, and it's really cool in the sense that there actually are like new frontiers to explore, and you see stories periodically about like, well, this 50-person ship fleet went off to explore some like star like in the middle of the galaxy, and they took literally days to get there of traveling, like literally real-time days. And I'm like, well, that's fascinating and weird and cool. And it makes for great headlines, but it's not necessarily a compelling game experience to the majority of us. And the rest of what Elite Dangerous people do is, they trade. Like you do cargo runs. You fly from planet to planet to planet, like selling stuff and getting the best possible ship that you can. Maybe you want to be a raider and like be a space pirate and capture some people. But beyond that, there's a lot of empty space. And after spending some time like trading and realizing that you are spending a lot of time just flying around in hyperspace, it gets a little old, even with the addition of planets. So I would like a world that feels a little fuller and maybe has a lot more direction to it. But in a way, I don't think that's going to happen because it feels like they're making a sandbox game and I don't think they want to give players direction. So, and some people are going to like that.
So kind of like EVE Online or Star Citizen?
Well, EVE Online, you have the opportunity to make a really big impact on the universe, right? I mean, people get together and they literally carve up the galaxy. And
well, you have
empires.
the opportunity, but the EVE Online is so, like, there's a big gulf between those excellent, amazing story moments that Andrew Groen can write an entire book about.
Yeah.
And what most people do every day, which is mining or trading or whatever.
I did try it for maybe 3 days a decade ago, and it was just too monotonous. It's like, click on the thing you want to go to, now leave your computer and come back when you're there and then start mining. It was very tedious. You really have to work to get to those really interesting moments that people write about, stories about.
I think the thing is that the potential for scale exists in EVE Online where it doesn't exist in Elite Dangerous. Like you have this big sandbox and everything, but you don't really have a chance to make your mark on it. The way that the universe changes is like, if enough players side with a particular faction, then that faction will grow more powerful. And like that will impact the nature of the story, I suppose. But it's not like EVE Online where you can like form a huge fleet and go out and start building bases and all that stuff, right? So, somewhat different. Like I said, I think the thing that I would look for the most in No Man's Sky is the opportunity to really kind of set down roots, I suppose, on one of these planets that I find.
Can you? I was going to ask. Can you name the planets? I seem to remember something about that, like whoever discovers it gets to name it, or is given the name of the discoverer. I'm just hoping you don't wind up with a universe full of bad words.
There'll be so many penis planets.
I feel like everything is going to be a penis again. I mean, that's just the inevitability of giving users creation the tools to create.
And that's where that's when moderation comes in.
Always time to penis. But it's pretty weird, just because I do wonder what they're going to do about that. And if it's not penis names, it's going to be weird, like really super serious, like Reaper names in Overwatch, which is the new thing. Like they're all serious, like Death March Planet and stuff like that.
Planet Apocalypse 38.
I do miss the days of Sephiroth being in screen names.
Oh, Sephiroth 69, 420, yeah. Good times.
What I will say is that I am glad that Hello Games is shooting for the stars, as it were, with this game. I like ambition. I like scope. And I don't think we've seen this kind of ambition and scope in a console game to this date. Certainly not to this extent. So it's really exciting to see things like that happening on the PlayStation 4. And the other thing that I'm happy about is I actually think it's a great idea. It's great that they're delaying it until August, because as it was, like, it was originally going to come out in June, right after E3. And there's just no way that reviewers were going to have an opportunity to grapple with it to the extent that it deserved. And maybe reviewers aren't as relevant as they used to be, but it sure helps to be able to cover it in a way that it really deserves. So to carve out a spot in August, when, I don't know, like, there will be games coming out, but I think No Man's Sky will definitely be one of the absolute biggest, and E3 won't be in the way, is actually really preferable to having it come out in June. Of course, we're like the 1%ers, and it's so first world problems to be like, oh, this game's coming out right after E3, so I'm not going to have time to play it, man. Like 99% of the world is not going to have that problem.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
At the same time, it's nice that it'll have a little more room to breathe, as it were.
And having finished segment 1, we move on to our next topic, which is Bob Mackey's. What are we going to talk about today, Bob?
Today we're going to be talking about the Hitman reboot, basically just called Hitman. And I want to talk about it because it seems like nobody is talking about it. And Mike's giving me the thumbs
Mike
up.
approves.
That's weird.
I know, Mike.
Hitman's
You did the second opinion with me on the first episode, right?
I did indeed. I did indeed.
Okay, I thought so. And have you been playing the episodes as they've been releasing?
I played a bit of episode 2, but I unfortunately didn't finish it, and I haven't had a chance to even touch the elusive targets, which makes me sad as a Hitman fan.
Same here, and it can be an intimidating game, which is something I really respect. I mean, there are safeguards built in to help new players, but I still feel like it is a big, bustling game where you have to be meticulous at every step. So it is not the most appealing thing for your average gamer, I think. And I hate using the word gamer, but you know what I mean. Your average person who buys video games, if they pick up Hitman and they want to just go out and shoot people, they're just going to die instantly because that's just not how Hitman plays. But I do feel like the game is getting really overlooked, and it's sad because it is a very great mix of like stealth and adventure game elements that taking place in these huge reactive worlds.
Yeah, it is the perfect Hitman reboot. Like, of all the developers that try to bring a certain style of game back and fail, IO Interactive really hit on what Hitman fans love about Hitman with this game.
I agree, and I feel that the episodic structure is completely artificial. It's not necessary, but I think the way that they're delivering the content encourages players to actually go back into the levels and get the most out of them, because the way Hitman works is you are basically dropped into a huge reactive world with like invisible walls like closing you off. You're just kind of trapped in this little area, well, a big area, but you're given 1 or 2 targets, and the game is just like, okay, go kill them, find a way to kill them. And once you do it once, the game reveals to you all the other ways you could do it. Mm-hmm. So the challenge is going back into these levels, using different strategies, using different techniques, disguising yourselves as different characters in order to make the most creative kills and meet all these goals the game sets up for you. And as you level up, you unlock more weapons you can start with. You unlock new starting locations, so you don't have to start in the same place every time. It's a very rewarding game in terms of I don't know, giving you things for being creative. For being creative.
And what I liked, and I said this in the review, is that there was a moment where I realized that the little achievements that they had in the game were sort of pointing you towards whatever else you could do in the game, which I thought was pretty smart.
Mike, you're a big Assassin's Creed fan. How does Hitman compare?
Oh, they're completely different games.
Like in terms of assassinations and that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed assassinations are the sloppiest things in the universe.
Yeah.
In Hitman, you have to be like, I need to get this guy alone in a room, and once I kill him, I need to figure out a way to get out of the situation I'm in, because otherwise I'm screwed. Like, I remember I haven't played an Assassin's Creed in a while, but I do remember the assassinations taking a lot less finesse than
a lot less subtlety.
Yeah.
As a longtime Assassin's Creed and Hitman player, Hitman is really meticulous and slow and a lot of planning. Assassin's Creed, after a certain point, I can actually most of my assassinations are run, kill, run, and like over very quickly. Like it's like jump down, ha, kill, and we're gone.
And there are no consequences usually.
That's it.
No real consequences.
And I mean, there are consequences, but I can usually get away from them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Get into a haystack.
Assassin's Creed is very much guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Whereas Hitman is quiet assassination, because if you get found out at Hitman, you can sometimes get away, but for the most part, you're probably going to fail pretty quickly.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because you can kill your targets in very brutal and unsophisticated ways. Like, I'm going to get this guy alone. I'm going to poison his drink, and when he goes to throw up in the bathroom, I'm going to drown him in the toilet. That's a very effective way to do things. But you can also do the more creative things, like I'm going to disguise myself as a reporter, so we can interview the target. And as he's being interviewed, I will arrange for something to fall on him, or I will arrange for the camera to explode or fire something at him. Like, there are so many different elaborate ways to kill in this game, and that is the most fun. And for a premise as dark as just being a nameless assassin, this game is like a dark comedy. Just in the many ways people set themselves up to be killed. Like, the game is winking at you a lot of the time. Like, hey, that guy is smoking near a bunch of red explosive barrels. I wonder what would happen if you punctured them. And like, there are a lot of like moments of dramatic irony for the player like that, where the game does wink at you a lot and tries to have fun with the atmosphere, especially with all the different ways people react to you and in the different costumes and stuff like that. There's so much detail packed into this game that it's just so much fun to just jump back into the worlds over and over again just to see what different things you can try out.
And one thing that they've added, because there are a lot of expert Hitman players, is what I talked about. It's called the elusive targets, which are literally one shot. They're like, here's your target. You get one shot at it, and that's it. If you fail during that one shot, that target is gone for you.
Wow.
And they've released 2 of them so far, Bob?
I think so. I forget what the release schedule is. I'm emailed whenever it happens, but I haven't actually had time to go back into Hitman and do it, because, like I said, it is it's sort of like an intimidating challenge. You can't just jump into Hitman and fart around for 20 minutes. You have to plan out all your steps, save along the way, know where you're going next. Like, I think it's an experience where it's like, I'm going to sit down for 3 hours to play this game. It's kind of hard to jump in and jump out.
Yeah, and you are going to die. Like, you'll walk into a room and you'll be like, and I'll give you a little prompt like, hey, a camera saw you. And then you're like, shoot. Okay, next time around, I know that the camera is there. I can make sure to face away or not go down that corridor or find a new entry. It's very much a save and reset, or you're going to die over and over again kind of game.
And if stealth turns you off, the game gives you a ton of visual information as to whether or not you can be spotted. Like, hitting the R1 button on the PS4 controller turns on this instinct mode, and you can see people's silhouettes through walls and stuff like that. And depending on what costume you're wearing, or depending on what outfit you're wearing, certain types of people will spot you or will view you as suspicious, and they're always viewed with like a little dot over their heads. Mm-hmm. So you always know going into a room, okay, like, I need to throw something to distract that guy, or I need to make sure he's out of the room before I go through this place. Like, there's always so much feedback in the game, which is extremely helpful. Yeah, and it makes the stealth very manageable. Yeah,
and I like the new costume system because it's very much a if you're wearing a cook costume, like, the guards have no clue who you are, but if you run into another cook, the cooks know who's on staff, so they're like, you're not a cook. So you very much have to switch costumes, usually on a regular basis, although they have achievements for staying in your base costume or killing in a specific type of costume and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they try to come up with as many different variants on things you can do in the levels as possible. I think my only negative point, and it might be limited to the console versions, is that it's a game where you want to rapidly prototype ideas. Like, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to go in with this. But the actual process of loading a saved game takes between 20 to 30 seconds. And if I had to guess, that's probably much, much less on the PC. I mean, for as much as people talk about PC snobbery, I think that the actual main benefit of PC games or PC ports of games is the fact that loading times are just like a non-issue for the most part compared to consoles. And I kind of wish I was playing the PC version. It wouldn't look astoundingly better, but I feel like those annoying, like, okay, time to look at Twitter for 20 seconds moments would be eliminated. And it's kind of like, I mean, it's a little thing to complain about, but those reloads do add up over time.
Yeah, they would.
And I just feel like maybe this is not the ideal version, but it still works incredibly well, and it looks fantastic. Like, the level I'm playing now is in Marrakesh, and you're in this great, huge, open outdoor market, and there are hundreds of people milling around. It's really impressive, and if you take out your gun and fire it, all the people freak the hell out and start running around everywhere. It's great to just look at the mass panic you can induce if you're just screwing around. Like, oh my god, all these characters are actors in this game, and they will react to me. They're not just like props in the background like you would see in another game. Or
and
just
I found out last night that Marrakesh, someone forwarded a screenshot to Rami Ismail, who's a developer, to see if the Arabic in the game was correct. And it was, apparently.
That's amazing.
Which is super rare.
That's a change.
Like, they actually just maybe phoned up a person who uses Arabic on a regular basis and said, hey, what could we put here?
It's not hard, Call of Duty, to find one person who can understand a language, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
One interesting choice they made is the fact that you are very much like a globe-trotting assassin. Like every level takes place in a new, like, extravagant place or a new interesting exotic location, but everyone speaks English and no one has accents, which I think is an interesting choice. And I'm kind of glad they did it, because just having to make a bunch of ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't trust them to make every accent authentic, and I think that would take you out of the game. So people just converse with each other around you that as they would just in a regular English conversation, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah, American English.
Gotcha.
But I think they would run the risk of being offensive if they're just like, okay, we need to figure out what the accent is people have in this area and try to get as close to it as possible, and that kind of misfires sometimes. So,
well, that's good. And Hitman right now is up to episode 3, which, as Bob said, is Marrakesh.
And I recommend
buy it piecemeal or just buy the whole thing.
Yeah, I recommend that you don't wait for the whole package. Like I said, I feel like this game is trying to incentivize you going back into these very rich levels, which you can easily get between 20 to 25 hours if you really play the hell out of them. So I have a feeling if you get the entire game, you're just going to beat every level and then move on to the next thing. But if you have just the episodes in front of you, you'll be more inclined to sit with it and get the most out of it. And that's what I've been having the most fun with.
It's weird that it's been kind of overlooked, given that it's been really critically acclaimed in a lot of quarters. I'm kind of wondering if it's because it's episodic.
Well, I mean,
that could be it.
The Hitman fans love it. I honestly think it's just one of those games that Square, Enix, and IO may want to have a huge mainstream following for it, but it's just not that kind of game. I don't think it ever will be, and I honestly think in this case it's a situation where doing what the fans want is going to leave your product as a niche product. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Nothing wrong.
And it's probably the most beautiful niche product I've seen in my life. For the smaller market it's targeting, it's just a beautiful, beautiful game.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be a lot weirder. It'd have to be like Metal Gear Solid weird for its kind of stealth gameplay to really reach the mainstream. All right. And having finished talking with Bob about Hitman, we now move to our final segment of the show, which is Nadia's. What are we going to talk about today, Nadia?
We are going to talk about, with your permission, the concept art / development sketch for the upcoming new Mega Man cartoon. We're not getting any games in the near future, but we are getting a cartoon by DHX, who does Transformers Rescue Bots and a bunch of other stuff. And all we have for now is a single sketch and a vague concept, and people aren't too happy about either or. Mega Man does look different. He's blue. That's about it. He has some sharper corners. He kind of looks like a cross between all the Mega Men across the universe. But what really kind of has people riled up is that the concept is that he goes to school and has a secret identity, and that's exactly the kind of stuff you really don't want from a cartoon about a robot that kills other robots, especially if you remember the old Dreamwave comic, which wasn't terrible, but it was so generic and boring. And I'm just a little upset about that.
This really reeks of executive meddling, like trying too hard where they don't have to try. It's like, okay, kids are already on board with a robot that kills other robots. It's like, no, he's got to be in school because the kids can identify with him. It's like, no, it's fine. He's a robot. And also, you didn't need to redesign Mega Man. Mega Man already exists. He looks fine. Like, you did too much work. I know you're trying to justify your job, but seriously, like, the idea is already there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with the whole like design by committee thing, especially because kids aren't stupid, and kids' cartoons today are smarter, far smarter than they were when I was a kid. I don't care what anyone says about the 80s. Sure. Gravity Falls is for kids, but it's brilliant. Steven Universe, I don't watch that, but I hear it's fantastic. Adventure Time, it has like philosophy and metaphysics and all this stuff going on, and kids love it. You don't need to put Mega Man in school. No one wants to put Mega Man in school.
Maybe they just felt like the notion of Mega Man killing robots wasn't I don't know, there wasn't enough to it to be able to sustain the show, so they decided to add an extra element so that they could have something, they could build relationships for Mega Man.
Well, that's also the thing, is that I don't know if either or any of you have read the Archie Mega Man comic by Ian Flynn. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, it's on hiatus, but it's basically, Mega Man fights robots, sure, but he also, you have like all these questions about like how robots fit into human society, how they relate to humans, should they have emotions or shouldn't they? And of course, Mega Man, he's fighting, the Robot Masters are his brothers, so you have that conflict there as well. Plus, this cartoon Mega Man has a little Mega Man come out of his head.
Okay, so I'm reading this.
Photoshop.
No, it's real.
So I'm reading this. Not only does Mega Man look different and go to school, he also has a little character named Mega Mini who lives inside his helmet.
God,
and so this show is being made by DHX, but it's also in collaboration with Man of Action, who people may know of as the folks behind Ben 10.
That's right, yes.
So it's very much, and Ben 10 was very much in that. He went to school, then on the other times he was a superhero. He would fight villains and take their powers to become different forms. So really, they're just doing Ben 10 again.
But with Mega Man.
Which
and it's really weird because the quote that they have here is the best thing about Mega Man is his unflinching wide-eyed optimism and over-the-top sense of humor.
Sure?
I don't know about that.
I don't even.
I do see that this company is responsible for a show called Grandpa in My Pocket, so that inspires confidence. Also, I'm not even kidding. Also, with what Nadi was saying, I was just thinking, like, Mega Man is Astro Boy. He is just a ripoff of Astro Boy. Yeah. Make an Astro Boy type thing, like what it seems like the Archie comics are.
Yeah. And the thing that really doesn't inspire confidence is that Mega Man, if he had a human name, what would you call him? He'd be Rock, right? They're calling him Aki. His name is Aki Light. Why?
Because Rock is it's associated with a pro wrestler, and
not anymore.
Maybe it's a fairly common name at gay clubs.
Yeah, I mean the school thing honestly doesn't bother me as much because again the Astro Boy the idea is Astro Boy was created to be a boy, so if Dr. Light created a humanoid robot, he'd probably want to treat him like a kid, so okay, that can be executed well, but so the rest of the stuff kind of
the thing that doesn't inspire confidence along with everything else is that this concept has been done with Mega Man before and it was just boring as heck.
Yeah.
Nobody liked that comic very much. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't terrible, but it was just a totally fill in the blanks thing.
I thought you were talking about the Mega Man EXE cartoons. I was like, what?
Those were okay.
Don't talk about those. Those were great.
I missed those. Apparently,
No, those were
Aki means hope or bright or shining. That which I guess signifies his optimism in some way. But I guess that's less awkward than how in Mega Man Legends, Mega Man is his first name.
Yeah, that was
and
a little
what
weird.
is his last name? And Roll's like, I named you after my favorite video game. So it's like Mega Man exists, and I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's very
I don't claim that Mega Man continuity makes any sense, but
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is there is enough that you could work with that. You don't have to barf up an old Dreamwave comic from like 2005 or whenever it was, and you definitely don't have to name him Aki because he has a name and it's all right.
Also,
well, as usual, people don't have any ideas, so they go back to the well.
Also, is the show going to dig into the deep metaphysical aspect of like a middle schooler who kills and sucks out the souls of those like him? I hope so. Because
yeah, like I
wanted
said,
to explore. Sorry, Nadia.
I was going to say the Archie comic does kind of explore those themes without being heavy-handed about them. You can talk about that stuff to kids. They've got brains.
I do want to see the show explore the idea of Mega Man being an immortal boy robot who has to watch everyone he loves die around him.
That is so depressing.
That's the Mega Man I want.
And see, this is why we are not in charge of a
Hey,
Mega
give
Man.
me hey DHX. I will make this so much better than Grandpa in my pocket.
So that's what you say, but I don't know if you can,
Did any
if you can
of
really
you
top
actually
Majesty
watch
Grandpa.
Ben 10?
No, I haven't.
have watched it assortedly. It's not a horrible show. It's definitely for kids, and it's not one of those shows that is for kids that somehow elevates itself above.
So it knows
there.
exactly what it wants to be, which is a show for kids.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. I was like in my mid-20s when it came on, but it did seem very toyetic. It's like he's got all these forms that you can buy, you know.
So is Mega
Yeah.
Man.
That sounds about right.
True.
So,
but
I'm
they never
not-
bothered giving us any Mega Man toys until like way too late.
Yeah.
Don't you remember the cartoon? The original cartoon had the toys, like you could have ripped Mega Man if you wanted. I have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't care about the cartoon until they did the Mega Man X episode.
Oh my god, I skipped school to watch that one.
There was a Mega Man X episode?
It was ridiculous.
Yes, there was one episode where they go into the future, and there's Mega Man X
Whoa.
looking all cool next to not Mega Man X.
And
Hey,
X
Mega
was-
Man, have you played my new game? It's for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. You can get it for $69.99 at your local Target.
Yeah, and he actually didn't go into the future. They went. X came back to the future, quote unquote. And so you know how Mega Man X is like kind of a pacifist. In the cartoon, he just blew everything up. He didn't care. And he's like, I must hunt Mavericks at all costs. And he's blowing everything up. There's like buildings that had a human tour going through it just a minute ago. Completely gone. And Violet was there, and Spark Mandrill. Of all the Mavericks, they used Spark Mandrill. But it was a fun episode. It was ridiculous.
This is an incredibly old joke, but I would watch this if they got the Mega Man 8 voice cast to do all the voices.
Find my sweepy enemies.
Like, find the drunk they pulled in off the street who did Wily, and be like, we'll get you boozed up, just talk to this microphone.
Yeah, I'd give it an instant A for drunk Wily in the KFC outfit.
Hey man, you guys are talking about Mega Man 8, but while everyone is remembering Super Fighting Robot, Electric Communications, as I tweeted
Yeah.
when they announced this, is still the best animated Mega Man opening thing ever.
Is that?
Oh,
Are you talking
yeah.
about the one they used for Mega Man 8 or the Super Rockman adventure thing for PlayStation? Because they kind of
that was the Mega Man 8 one from the Japanese
yeah.
release.
Oh man, imagine if you want to be a regretful N64 owner, just watch like the anime stuff going on in shop windows when you're a kid, and you're like, oh man, this isn't coming to the N64, is it?
Nope.
See, they had the openings for like Wild Arms, Mega Man 8, Mega Man X4, and I'm just, what did I buy?
Hey, Mega Man Legends came to N64, right?
It did.
Eventually,
Did it?
it did.
Yeah, like two years later. I think it was like, literally released in the year 2000. Along with
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2. Yeah.
It was right at the
Resident
end.
Right. They released Resident Evil 2 for it. I'm sure that went well.
If you want to see a compressed game, buy either of those.
I hear it's an amazing technical achievement in terms of just how they were able to cram all that into a cartridge and have it at least be passable in terms of, quality.
Passable was the word for it.
But technical achievements do not games make.
True.
No.
People did yell at me for not mentioning that in our Retronauts episode about Resident Evil, so apparently there are a lot of fans of that one.
Good for them.
I mean, StarCraft also got an N64 port. Not all ports are created equal.
That's true.
For sure.
Yeah, looking at this, it's aimed at kids 6 to 9. So really, if you're an adult Mega Man fan,
I understand.
This isn't for you guys. So there's really no reason to be angry about it. The Mega Man comic is still out there. We're not getting Mega Man games regardless. So
that's the weird thing about this whole thing. Like, there's going to be an accompanying game supposedly, but it's probably going to be some mobile thing, and I don't know. It's just weird. I'm not furious about the whole thing. Don't get me wrong, but I am a little disappointed. It could be better, and it's not. But that's kids shows in general. Sometimes you get Gravity Falls. Sometimes you get whatever this is going to be.
You know, I'm sad that Mega Man's not coming back, but at the same time, there are 10 really good Mega Man games out there, plus the X games.
Yeah,
so,
and Legacy Collection is good.
Yeah, Legacy Collection's great. So, I mean, there are certainly ways to play all of these old games, and they still hold up really, really well. So it's kind of a drag that Mega Man is kind of dead and buried, but there's still these amazing classic games. So if you're ever feeling sad about it, just go back and play them. It's okay.
I agree.
And we have Mighty Number 9 coming.
which
bring it back. We got so many hits for talking about that.
Yeah, we did.
Well, that is the end of our final segment, folks, and the end of our show. I'd like to thank Kat, Bob, and Nadia for once again coming and bringing us interesting topics to talk about. And I'd like to thank you for watching, whether you are watching it on YouTube or listening to it on iTunes or whatever podcast thing you use. It's very helpful. Please subscribe in either format, and we'll be here every week. Except E3. What? We'll figure it out.
We're getting there.
Make it work.
And so that's another episode of From Us to You. Bye.